Okay, First Nephi chapter 9. This is actually the shortest chapter of our reading so far. It actually is only 6 verses, but very important and very powerful verses.
Yes, so we have here Nephi making a record. That's how we know of everything that's been happening so far. But in this chapter, we find out that Nephi is writing one set of plates, one set of records that has kind of like a history of his people, the history of the kings, the wars, and everything. But here, he is commanded in verse 3, he says, "Nevertheless, I have received a commandment of the Lord that I should make these plates," so another set of plates, "for the special purpose that there should be an account engraven of the ministry of my people." So as Nephi is like writing his journal and writing everything down, suddenly the Lord commands him, hey, write on a whole set of different plates. And I'm sure he wondered why, right? Like, well, I'm doing this. Why do I have to do it twice? But in verse 5, it says, "Wherefore the Lord hath commanded me to make these plates for a wise purpose in him, which purpose I know not. But the Lord knoweth all things from the beginning. Wherefore he prepareth a way to accomplish all his works among the children of men. For behold, he hath all power unto the fulfilling of all his words." So I love that. Why was Nephi writing these plates? He didn't know. He had no idea, but he knew the Lord did. And what did he do? I will go, I will do. He went and he did. And he obeyed the Lord in writing these second plates. And he never knew why in his lifetime. But we do.
Yeah, he trusted in the Lord. It's interesting that it's kind of I feel if you look at where Nephi was in this moment, he's being commanded by the Lord to create a second set of plates covering the same time frame. And so that's it was probably pretty confusing for him. That here it was a laborsome work to write in plates, right? I don't think it was an easy job. It's not like just writing on a piece of paper. But he did it. He did it. So we don't really find out the why until many years later when Joseph Smith and Martin Harris are translating the plates into the Book of Mormon. And so just a quick little snapshot of church history. In the summer of 1828, Joseph agrees to allow Martin Harris, who was serving as his main scribe. So Emma Smith worked as a scribe, but his main scribe was Martin Harris. And they had at this point 116 pages of translated manuscript. In English, they were rocking and rolling and getting the translation going, and Martin Harris is getting some backlash from his family. They're asking him, what are you doing? Why are you taking so much time? How come all this money? All these things that they're questioning what Martin Harris is doing. They do not see what he's doing, and they're confused and wondering why he's there with Joseph. And so Martin Harris, after asking 3 times from the prophet agrees to allowing him to take the manuscript. And through negligence, through disobedience, we don't really know exactly what happened there, but the pages of manuscript were lost. And for Joseph and Martin, this was a huge blow to their morale, to their relationship with God. They exclaimed one of the saddest phrases in church history. They both exclaimed, "All is lost. All is lost." But all was not lost because an ancient prophet named Nephi was doing something that the Lord had commanded to make up for this weakness of man.
That he knew would happen so much later.
Yeah.
And so I love that. It's really cool to see, like, what I take away from this is obedience, right? And I'm not talking about like the blind obedience, like just follow to follow. But the prophets and people who teach always say, hey, make sure you get a prayer or say a prayer, get an answer that what we've said is true. But when you receive the answer that what you're talking about is of God, even if you don't understand why, to follow it. And that's what Nephi did. He didn't understand why, but he knew it was from God. And as he followed it, the blessings came so much later, but they came, and it's blessing everyone. Absolutely everybody because of it. And so just I don't know, thinking about the things that we're asked to do. Maybe there's a commandment or a revelation received from a prophet or something that we don't quite understand why. It doesn't make sense to us logically or rationally, but pray and receive an answer that it is of God. And even if you don't understand completely why, go and do. Because the blessings will come. And there is a reason. There is a reason for it. A higher reason that we won't understand.
Yeah.
Might not in our lives, but there is a higher reason.
And do it with faith. Believe that there is a wise purpose in why this is happening. Whatever challenges or setbacks that we go through in life, know that God can compensate for our weaknesses, for our limitations. And with God, nothing is impossible.